Susan, are you all right to keep letting people in if I start? And then if you can keep an eye on a chat as well, that would be great. Perfect. Morning, everyone. As I said just now, I am recording this session just in case anyone wants to watch it back, or if anyone is not able to make the meeting today. So just be aware of that. Please feel free to keep your cameras on, but if you want to turn them off, you're more than welcome to do that as well. I would ask if, while I'm presenting, you could just keep yourselves on mute, but please do feel free to put your hand up or to ask any questions in the chat. We're covering quite a lot today, so I really want you to ask as many questions as you've got, because you may have quite a few. Given the topics we're covering, we may not have the answer to absolutely everything, but we will certainly try and answer what we can and find out what we can if we don't know. So let me just share the slides. 2 seconds. To anyone that I've not met, or I think I've probably met the vast majority of you, not necessarily face to face, but certainly on calls or whatever. I'm Nikki, so I'm the Strategic Careers Hub lead for Oxfordshire Careers Hub. And Susan's on the call today as well. For anyone who doesn't know Susan, do you just want to say hello quickly?
Hi everyone. Yeah, Susan, working with Nikki in the Careers Hub and Skills and Enterprise Advisor and sort of project lead on various employer engagement sort of programs.
Thanks, Susan. Can everyone see that? Susan, can you see the slides?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And hopefully Aoife and Eleanor will be joining us at some point during the call as well. So yeah, do feel free to ask, as I said, to ask any questions in the chat. So I'm afraid you're going to be hearing from me quite a lot today. But as I said, I'd like to make it as interactive as possible. So I'd love to hear other voices. If you've got anything that you want to input or anything like that, whether you're from the team or from one of our schools or colleges, then please do feel free to do that. First of all, though, there's the agenda in front of you. I'm not going to go through that. I'm going to just dive straight in to make sure we've got time to get through everything. First of all, I wanted to just say a big thank you, though. We obviously have all the campus evaluations you did last term. Thank you for all of you who got those done. That was really, really appreciated. We are now, as a hub, we are meeting an average of 6 benchmarks out of the 8 across all of our schools and college, which is fantastic. The national average is 5.8, so we're exceeding that. And it's great to see all the improvements that have been made and how people are continuing to push and improve their careers provision within their schools. So huge thank you to all the work that you do around that. Also, I just wanted to point out that with some of the benchmarks, we're exceeding again from a national average, and certainly with benchmarks 5 and benchmark 6, we're definitely some of the top hubs in the country in terms of getting that employer engagement. So again, thank you so much to working so well with employers, to keeping those relationships going, to getting your students in front of them, whether that's through an encounter or through an experience of the workplace. So huge thank you, because we know that that's not always an easy task. So a massive thank you around that. We've also seen a big improvement in benchmark 1, which, as you know, is the foundation for having a good careers programme. And again, we're exceeding national average in terms of how we're achieving on that, and also around benchmark 2 as well. So labour market information, which is great, because we know that that's really critical for students to understand the sectors those opportunities are in and what those opportunities look like within those sectors. So a big thank you to that as well. So I just wanted to start with that, because I know many of you wear many different hats in schools, and even those that you don't, of you that don't and are focused around careers, we know it's a huge piece of work. So we really do appreciate everything you're doing around it. In terms of our update, I just wanted to flag some of the stuff that we've been doing, just in case anyone isn't aware or hasn't linked into it. Just so you know what additional support, other than just the support your enterprise coordinator is able to give you, that is out there from us at the moment as well. So I'm going to run through these. It's a long list, but I'm going to run through them really quickly. But do please speak to your enterprise coordinator, or certainly reach out to me after the call if you've got any questions about any of these things that I mentioned. So we relaunched Teacher Encounters back in I think it was October, November now, at Satellite Applications Catapult. I know we have many of you attend. We had about, in total, we had over 20 careers leaders and teachers attend that event. And that was really to share with people the value that teacher encounters can bring. And also you have the opportunity to have a sort of a mini encounter as well with Catapult themselves. And you can see the picture in the bottom there where everyone got to look at some of the satellite imagery and how that's used in real time as well. So that was, I think, really fascinating for everyone to understand some of the stuff that the space sector actually do. We have also had an NHS teacher encounter this term as well, back in December. That was again really well achieved. Many of our colleges sent teachers along to that, which was fantastic. I know we've had a number of NHS encounters before that have always been really well received, because you really do get to see behind the scenes in the hospital. So again, fantastic opportunity, and as I've got coming up, we will have more teacher encounters as the year goes on. So really happy to see both yourselves there, but also really keen to get that out to your teachers as well, to get them coming along to those that are relevant to them. We've continued to run training for our employers around becoming more inclusive. So we did another 2-day workshop in partnership with the British Association of Supported Employment. Again, really well received by employers. The evaluations were incredibly positive, and they walked away with a lot in terms of thinking about how they can change the processes they've got in place in terms of employers, both from recruitment to actually onboarding people, but also in terms of the outreach into school and how they can make sure that they are making sure no students are missing out on the key messages that they want to share with young people. So really positive response from that too. We've had the Positive Destinations project running with 6 schools this term. That's nearly coming to an end now. That was for our schools where we see the highest number of students on free school meals, those that sit within our top quartile when it comes to deprivation. And we were working with those schools with small groups of year 11s to really support those year 11s to go on into a sustained destination come September. So that project's been going well, and we'll share the evaluation from that, and we'll also share with all schools what was actually delivered to those students, because it may be something you want to mirror, whether you do that through getting employers engaged with those students, whether you do that with looking at your EA to support that. Certainly some of the tools that come out of that we will share with all schools, so you can look at how you might want to implement some of that going forward. Aspirations Fair for special schools ran. Great response in terms of our schools. 12 of our schools brought students along. We had 25 employers there, and I must say it's down to a lot of it, or well, pretty much all of this is down to the work that Eleanor's done around SEND. But it was, for me, I came 2 years ago. I couldn't attend last year because I had another event, but I came 2 years ago, and attending this time was chalk and cheese in terms of the interaction between employers and students. I think some of that is down to that training we've been doing with employers to get them to be more inclusive and to be more comfortable in terms of thinking about how they can look at opportunities they have to make sure they can widen out the students that can apply for those. So really positive interactions happening there, though, both from a student side and also from an employer side. So that was really great to see. We've obviously launched the Horizons programme. We've got over 50 opportunities now that are live. 34 of those have been booked. I sent out an email earlier this week, though, just saying we'd love to see more of them getting booked up. So again, do feel free to feed back to us on what's working around that, what's not working around that, any concerns you've got, and if there's anything we can do as well. Do we need to be pushing that more at SLT level? When I look at the cross section of schools that are signing up, what I'm finding is it's easier for special schools to do that, and I understand why it's easier, probably because the less constraints around the curriculum. But it also appears from a mainstream school perspective, the schools that are signing up quickly are those schools whose careers leader sits within SLT. So I'm assuming that that's obviously enabling them to make those quicker decisions. So if there's anything we can do by getting more comms out to head teachers SLT around the Horizons programme to make it easier for you to book those visits, then we are here to support that if you need us to. I don't want to step on toes by doing that without you needing us to, but if that's something that would be beneficial, do let us know. Hopefully a lot of you will see the Green Skills Week resources that were created. We had some films and lesson plans available for you to use during that week, but obviously you can continue to use that across the year as well. So do feel free to tap into those, and I'll send out the links for those in the email afterwards. We had our first Cornerstone Employer Mock Assessment Centre that went brilliantly. That was at Oxford Advanced Skills, and it was really positive event with many of our cornerstones involved in that. And we had about 40 students attend from across a number of schools. And again, you can see some of the pictures, the middle pictures there, about them doing a group exercise and also getting some, having some sort of tips presentations from various employers. But really rich day, and we've got more of those to come as well. We've done some training around the careers impact system, doing internal leadership reviews. Great to see that we've now got 3 schools that have completed an internal leadership review. We've got another 3 schools that are in progress with that. I know we've got more than that, though, who are looking at doing it. So it's really good to see people are seeing the value in that. The feedback from the 3 who have completed it is they were all actually meeting 7 or 8 benchmarks, and they said it's given them so many more ideas in what else they can actually do now to improve their careers provision further. So really positive feedback in terms of using that tool. And also we've run FSQ training as well, and we've got 2 schools now that have completed FSQ in the last term. We'd love to see more of you do that. We believe it's one of the most valuable tools that the CEC offer in terms of really getting that student voice into your careers programme to understand where your gaps may be for them. So that's all, both of those are recorded, so we'll send out the links again for those. So if you weren't able to attend, you can do that. Eleanor has managed to work with the Oxfordshire County Council and being able to get some funding to support special schools around careers advice training, which is great. So we'll be seeing that come to fruition in the next few months. We've got some new apprenticeship ambassadors who've been inducted into the team, and we've had 17 ambassadors out supporting schools in the last term. We've got some new careers leaders, and it's great to have you on the call today, but also hopefully you've been getting fantastic support. Well, I know you've been getting fantastic support from the team, and we've recently got an employer newsletter that goes out, which is also highlighting some of the events you're putting on our website, and we've seen some traction with that in terms of more employers getting in touch in terms of being able to sign up to the events that you're marketing out to them. Coming up, we've got our apprenticeship webinars for teachers and parents. Hopefully you've seen a lot of that in Picks of the Week, but those will be really valuable opportunities to hear from apprentices themselves from across the county in terms of what their journey has been like and what their experience of doing their apprenticeship is like. We've got Careers Fest coming up. 31 schools signed up to bring students along, which is brilliant. It's full capacity from a school and student perspective. It's also full from an exhibitor perspective, with about 80 exhibitors signed up to attend as well. We've got the twilight session, obviously, for parents and carers in the evening. If you're not coming along with your school and you wanted to come along and meet some employers, you'd be very welcome to attend that twilight session as well. So please do bear that in mind. More mock assessment centre days coming up. Blenheim's next week, so I know that's all fully booked, but the others, Susan will obviously share details, and we'll have those in Picks of the Week as they come. More teacher encounters, which we'll share. The work experience readiness survey, I'll come to that a little bit later, along with the pilot. Annual conference, we're still planning that for later in July. We'll probably have a strong focus around work experience with that as well, but I'll explain why for that in a minute. And we're also looking at Find Your Future and whether we relaunch that as well. So that's something still in the background, which we'll keep people updated on. So quick summary of what's been going on, obviously alongside our usual support from your enterprise coordinators and your enterprise advisors supporting you in terms of looking at your careers provision and any additional support you might need. So I'm going to move on, unless there's any questions. I'm going to move on and look at the Gatsby benchmark report the next 10 years. So hopefully you'll all have seen this. We sent it out, and I know the CEC have sent it out to everyone as well. And also we sent out a document which showed you actually where the changes were in the wording. The first thing to say is not a huge amount has changed. The benchmarks are still the benchmarks. The 8 benchmarks still look exactly as they were. Through all the research that was done, it was found they were incredibly well supported. not just as a whole, but also when you looked at individual benchmarks, it showed that schools and colleges really did see the value in each of those benchmarks and saw why they were there and something that they should be working on, which was great. We've also seen massive progress against them as well. So you'll see there that previously, and I'll share these slides afterwards in case you want to use any of this data. But back in 2018, 1.9 benchmarks were being met on average. Now it's up to 5.8 at a national level, as I'd already mentioned. So big increase in terms of the progress against those. And I think the feedback was that schools liked the framework. They liked having something they could work against when it came to careers, and they very much felt they were fit for purpose. They were making a difference, and they were enabling students to have the outcomes that they were intended to do. So all very positive. However, there are some changes, and I would say they're more they've been classed more as kind of themes that run through all the benchmarks rather than changes to the actual benchmarks themselves. So we will see these changes come through the evaluations that we do in Compass starting from September of next year, but we are likely to see what those changes look like in terms of the types of questions that you'll get in the summer term, so that you can start to prepare and think about what your responses to those questions would be, anything you might need to adapt to ensure that you're still meeting the particular benchmarks that you are at the moment. So obviously, as soon as we have that, we will share those with you. But I just very quickly wanted to dive into what we know so far in terms of these 5 themes and what they're going to include. So careers at the heart of education and leadership, it now very much specifies the responsibility of that educational leadership and governors within the benchmarks as well, and obviously the roles of careers leaders and careers advisors as well, reinforcing for the need for careers leaders and careers advisors within school to be very much well connected with their colleagues, especially when it comes to SEND as well, so especially connecting with SENCOs, etc. And it's also outlined now that every subject teacher, so not just the core subjects of English, maths and science, should have careers embedded into their curriculum as well. So that's another change that we'll see of that. So careers guidance is kind of going to be seen more as that whole school endeavour. It's something all of the schools should be looking at, what those future opportunities for their students should be, not in terms of becoming advisors, but certainly in terms of realizing the links that they should be making when they're in the classroom, or from a leadership perspective, the links they could be making or what they could be doing around careers that helps their overall strategy for improvement within the school as well. Amendments have also been made around the inclusion and impact for each and every young person as well. So it very much looks at how you can actually plan and sequence and tailor your provision to really support all young people, to make sure that everyone gets access to all the information they need to be able to make those informed decisions about their next steps as well. Benchmark 3 is also going to look at young people's concerns around potential barriers to their career development, and highlights the importance of really allowing students to have a range of role models that they can meet through their careers provision. So ensuring that everyone, is able to see someone who is maybe in their position previously and has gone on to be successful in whatever way they've chosen. It's also acknowledged that some vulnerable and disadvantaged young people, including those with SEND, may require additional or different or adapted information and support. So making sure we're really giving that bespoke support to that group of students, if you're in a mainstream school, who need to be able to access that careers provision in a different way maybe than the majority of students. And obviously we know our special schools are great at doing this already, in terms of looking at how you're making sure that your young people get access to that careers information. And I'm sure there's a lot we can probably look to share across as well, which will really support that. In terms of the next one, it's about meaningful and varied encounters and experience. This is something obviously that was always, from 2013, employee engagement has always been absolutely central to what the Careers and Enterprise Company is about. Gatsby have highlighted the importance of sharing the purpose of the activity with all involved parties. So it's really about making sure people are ready for those encounters, both from an employer side and also from a student side as well, and that they're underpinned by real clear learning outcomes, and promote that two-way interaction between students. So it's creating stuff with intent, knowing what you're wanting to actually get out of those encounters is really important. Also, the need for students to be assigned tasks by employers and get feedback on the work has been highlighted as well. So making sure there's that real richness to those encounters so that all young people are able to get something from them in terms of really understanding the purpose of that encounter and what they should walk away, the information they should be walking away with as well. Importance of, as we always know, students engaging with a broad range of stakeholders. So benchmark 5 will now talk as well about self-employed and the importance of businesses of various sizes, so not just your large businesses, but a range, the importance of those from different sectors, which we know you always focus on as well. And benchmark 6 continues to really push that need for students meeting a variety of people within the workplace. Also, there's a piece around obviously workplaces changing with technology, and how people having that hybrid working from home, and really making sure that young people get to understand what that looks like as well. So being able to understand the reality of what the current workplace looks like too is really important. There has been, in terms of focusing on the use of information and data, there's been significant feedback received about this, which probably won't surprise some of you. Certainly in response to the intensive nature of collecting destination data for 3 years after Key Stage 4. So I'm actually going to read this bit so that I get it right, because I know there's always a lot of questions around this. So institutions were feeling that this offered the intensive nature of actually collecting the data meant that you weren't actually able to, you didn't have the time to then actually do anything with that data and make effective use of the insights that you could get from, that you could glean from it. So, and that would be whether it was sourced internally or externally. For example, some local areas have set up data sharing agreements with colleges, etc., and things like that. And the government has also published sustained and longer term destinations data as well. So institutions are now encouraged to focus on recording and using data on young people's participation in the careers programme, as well as their aspirations, their intended destination and their next steps. This approach will help institutions offer timely support based on individual needs and shift the focus to current learners and recent leavers, particularly those without a secure next step who may be at risk of becoming NEET. So it's saying we can use some of that long-term data that's out there that we know that people can easily access. But actually what we really want you to focus on as within schools and colleges is to really focus on understanding really what the next step is for that young person, what they're intending to do, what the right destination for them, what they go on to do as that next step from yourselves, rather than necessarily that really long-term outlook that we used to have. So we're putting that emphasis into making sure people are making the right next choice, rather than you having to spend time understanding what they're doing 3 years from now. So we'll see certainly that shift in the questioning, and how that will come out, I can't be 100% sure, but that was certainly the guidance that had been given to Gatsby with regards to the feedback that they had received from schools and colleges around that, is that the way it's working at the moment wasn't yet necessarily useful, and there was a different way that we should be doing with that. And also it's, as well as being crucial that young people receive consistent guidance about their future choices, from schools, it's also really important that they receive that from home as well. So the benchmarks have been updated to really strengthen the relationship between careers programs and parents and carers. Engagement with parents and carers is now going to be included in benchmark 1 as part of the strategic planning of careers programs. And throughout the framework, there's an emphasis on not only sharing information about education and careers options with parents and carers, but also supporting them in accessing and utilising this information in conversations with their children as well. So We will continue to do more around engaging parents around apprenticeships and with Careers Fest and however we can. There's some fantastic resources that the CEC have around parental engagement. But again, this is something obviously your enterprise coordinator can support you with if this is an area that you need to grow and improve as well to meet the benchmarks going forward. So they're small changes, but I think they are changes that hopefully will have a bigger impact. As I say, overall, the benchmarks are seen to being absolutely fit for purpose, but it's about bringing more of the school involved. So it's obviously, as leaders, you're leading the careers provision, but having more people engaged around the school and seeing the value of that provision, increasing and continuing that really strong focus around employers, and giving young people those experiences that they need to support that. Making sure that it's for all, that it's really inclusive, focusing on the use of information and data, but in a different way, so that data that you've actually got to hand already and how you can use that properly. And then the engagement of parents and carers are the sort of 5 main themes where we're going to see some differences in the evaluations for how you're doing against those benchmarks come September this year, September 2025. So also just to highlight as well, there's a new learning and development platform from the CC that's going live in January. Hopefully those of you on the digital hub or will have received emails from the CEC anyway with regards to this. The digital hub for careers leaders actually closes today. So there's not going to be anything for a couple of weeks, but come the end of January, a new platform will go live that will have a new content in it. Features will be added along the way, certainly with regards to the Gatsby benchmark implementation. So really try and get all of you to get onto that platform and to register for that platform when it goes live. And we'll make sure, as well as information coming out from the Careers and Enterprise Company, we'll also get stuff out to you locally as well around that to remind you to sign up for that. Okay, any questions around Gatsby at all? Susan, is there anything in the chat?
Yeah, there's one there. Simon's put new teachers training on careers ?
So there are some great resources for teachers, which you will find through the new platform. I don't know what it's going to be called, whether it's even going to be called the Digital Hub or what it's going to be called. I don't think we've been told that yet, but there are some great resources on there, some modules that teachers can do around careers to really bring them up to speed. So we can certainly point you in the direction of those when they become available.
Nikki, I wasn't talking about actually in school. I mean teacher training. What training are they doing at teacher training level, working with local training centres?
Right, okay. I'm going to have to, I would absolutely imagine there is, but I'm going to have to ask that question back to the Careers and Enterprise Company. But that's probably a really good thing for you to know, actually, because obviously then when you're onboarding those newly qualified teachers, you're going to know what level they're at. So can I take that question back, Simon, and ask that to the Careers and Enterprise Company and come back to you all around that? Right, I've written that one down. Anyone else, anything around the benchmarks, the new benchmarks? No, okay, right, I will move on to the next. So, like I said, sorry, it's just all my voice, but do feel free to chip in, and especially around the next piece as well. So reinventing workplace experiences. We know, and even though we absolutely smashing benchmark 6, as I said, and we probably have got one of the highest achievement around that benchmark in the country, if not I've not been told it's the highest, but I've been told it's exceptional in terms of the work that you are all doing around engaging with businesses to ensure that your students get experiences of the workplace. But there are challenges around that, which you will all be very, very aware of. So first of all, we know that young people don't necessarily get enough experiences, and that not all young people. That is going to vary absolutely in terms of different people who are in different areas of the county, different cohorts of students, and also that the quality of those experiences can really differ as well. So we know there's not a sort of level playing field when it comes to experience of the workplace. In terms of traditional models of work experience, so your week long or even 2 weeks long work experience doesn't always reflect actually how modern work takes place. So, as I said, there's a lot of hybrid working. There are different skills that people need now to succeed in the workplace. So looking at that's also a challenge in terms of making sure that young people, that work experience is really readying young people for the reality of what that looks like as well. We also know that young people, traditionally when it comes to work experience, that happens in year 10, but young people are making choices around options earlier than that. So that question around actually, should we be starting this a lot earlier? Schools, I think, and colleges recognise that, doing blocked work experience is challenging, but you're also faced with barriers about, well, if we do a block, at least we know that's a week and they're off and we get agreement for that. If we're going to give students more differentiated experiences of the workplace and more variety through shorter experiences, is that going to become challenging in terms of from a timetable, curriculum perspective, etc., and things like that. We know as well that and this is from a careers and enterprise company perspective. So this isn't necessarily aimed at our hub, but when you're looking nationally, it's recognised that actually in terms of when young people are taking part in experiences of workplace, it's not always clear to them in terms of what they're planned in terms of that. So what the learning outcomes that they're going to receive from doing that are prior to them going, and even reinforcing those when they come back as well. So that's something that's really key, that young people are seeing what this is about. It's not just about, what are they hoping to glean from those experiences as well. And we know employer capacities limited, especially with, introduction of T levels, etc., and things like that. It's just made it harder. When you're in a county like ours, where we've got a huge proportion of SMEs, obviously it's harder for them to offer experiences as well in some instances. So we know there are challenges around employer capacity too. So very much it's seen that there's time for a change. The Careers and Enterprise Company are trialing and testing different ways of experiences of the workplace in terms of what that will look like in the future. And understanding the impact of those different methods. So they've done quite a lot of pilots across the country, and very much in the north at the moment. And they've asked us actually to do a pilot here in collaboration with Bucks over the next sort of 8 months as well, which I'll come on to in a second. But they're doing a lot of research into what works, etc. We know that there's definitely an appetite, and we hear that from yourselves and the employers that we work with, but obviously it's heard nationally as well. There's an appetite to start to really think differently around experiences of the workplace and look at how we can adapt and change those to make them a lot more meaningful for students and a lot easier for all employers to engage with as well. You will have possibly heard, and I think we've mentioned it before, that the Labour government in their manifesto and also in their skills white paper spoke about the need for students to have 2 weeks worth of work experience between year 7 and year 11. That will come into place before the end of the term of this government. So there is absolutely a shift that needs to be made to meet those requirements that we're going to see from the government as well. But also the solution, it must be fit to drive that real equality. Whatever we do, it's about making sure that students that are currently missing out are able to get engagement with employers, that they are able to give, that the experiences they get are going to give the reality of actually what working is like, that it's going to give them the opportunities to talk about those, so when they're looking towards their future and making those future decisions, that they're given the opportunity, that the experiences they get give them the opportunity to, one, know what they want, but two, know how to articulate that as well, and how to articulate the experiences they've already had. So it really drives up that social capital and careers capital for them too. So really important piece especially for those students that are currently missing out of getting access to experiences of the workplace. So Careers and Enterprise Company have come up with this word, EqualX, which is very much the project which is looking at what I've said already, the research that they're doing around what experience the workplace are going to look like going forward. So again, about being equitable, quality, and having those experiences as well. So what reinvention of work experience looks like then, it's not what it isn't is a rigid approach to work experience for schools. It's very fluid in terms of schools being able to look at what it works best for them. It's about schools starting to build a progressive program starting right from year 7 in terms of supporting students, in terms of getting that experience of the workplace with employers. So it helps them, as I've already said, make those informed decisions about their next steps. It's about adding quality and equity. So making sure that, again, those that are missing out are getting those quality, everyone's getting quality experience, but those missing out are getting access to them as well. And it's meeting the needs of employers. So it's ensuring that through those experiences of the workplace, students are going to be more work ready when it comes to them joining employers, because they'll have had experiences that really do mimic what actually employers need and what it's actually like to work for certain employers as well. The way that the Careers and Enterprise Company are currently looking at this, and these are all CEC slides, is and the models that they're looking at in terms of some of the pilots that are being run across the country, is very much there are these 3 different levels that they see around experience of the workplace. So the things that students will get most of, or they would think it's right that students get most of, is that introduction and inspiration into the workplaces. So we're talking about short workplace visits. We're talking about if students are going already out on, whether it's a geography field trip or whether it's an English visit to the theatre, they're actually combining careers into those things that you've already got going on in schools, or creating new short visits out into employers as well, to really ensure they're getting inspiration across the board in terms of what different careers might look like. Then you've got your investigate and explore piece, which is very much more around students being able to actually then get a little bit more involved with employers, maybe do some projects. So getting an employer in, coming and setting them a project, which they can then maybe go back and deliver within the employer. So again, we're not talking about huge time out of school. Certainly you can have a very good mix with both of these levels around having employers in, but also going out as well. But it's a little bit more intensive, rather than just hearing and maybe being able to ask questions. It's maybe able to doing some of that practical project work that you would do within that employer as well. And then thirdly, the smallest amount of what you'd expect them to do is around that actually apply and demonstrate. So that's their experiences actually within the workplace. So you're currently, as many of you may have, your weeks-long work experience, or you may decide that actually you're going to put that down to just 3 days because you're going to do more of the other stuff. And that's where we're saying it's really flexible. It's not about schools having to set a model. It's about looking at what model is right for your school. You can just see there in terms of across the year groups what that will look like. So that progressive program of workplace experiences, so the introduction and inspire, the investigate and explore, and then the apply and demonstrate sort of from year 10 onwards, where they actually get out into an employer. But yeah, the other 2 are very much more of a mix of employers in, getting short experiences out, but really starting to understand about a range of sectors, a range of jobs, and getting some practical experience as well through that. Also, for those of you who have already done the internal leadership review, and for those of you who are thinking of doing it, I know we've spoken about it a lot before from the Careers Impact System, you will very much see theme 5 is very much focused around benchmark 5 and 6. And we would see Equalex as being something that comes at the very top level of that. So we know this is a moving thing for most of you in terms of where you are, where you would sit on this grid. But certainly this really highlights what that sort of 4th column highlights what really great quality experiences of the workplace would look like for students. So when you do the internal leadership review, you'll really be able to see the areas that maybe you're not currently doing, which you need to start to input to make that progression. And as I said previously, from the schools that have already done this, that's what they found the most valuable about doing this. It's given them little bits that they can start to work on, which could ultimately make a much bigger difference. I've included here a couple of examples as well in terms of that the Careers and Enterprise Company have produced with some of the other hubs that have been working on this. So it shows you the numbers of hours, experience, the different types of work experience you can get, what those learning outcomes would be, etc., and how you might look to map that. And there's an example here for specialist settings as well for our special schools to have a look at. So this will go out with the slides just to start you sort of having a think about that. I don't want you to panic though, because we've got loads of time for this. It's unlikely that anything will come into place until September 2026. So you have loads of time to prepare the ground to look at how you would actually make this transition into offering this 2 weeks worth of work experience for your students. So I would suggest to first of all start to map out what you're already doing and use your enterprise coordinators to work with this on you and your enterprise advisors. Obviously engage the rest of the school as well. So start to map up what you think you're already doing. Think about what you'd like the learning outcomes for each year group. So on this slide here, it showed some of those learning outcome focus. Do you want to mirror that? Sorry, my dog's barking. Do you want to mirror that, or have you got other learning outcomes you want to focus on? So start to think about that. Complete an audit of what's taking place across the school already in terms of visits. So there's some of those opportunities that you can actually bring careers into to help you meet that sort of 2 weeks, 50 hours worth of experience in the workplace. Start to think about, and don't forget that 50 hours doesn't all need to be out. That can be a mixture of people coming in and out. Who are your stakeholders? Who do you need to influence within your school or college to keep them informed? What can we do? How can the hub help with that? Is there anything we can do? As again, I said, we don't want to step on toes by coming in to do that, but certainly we want to be able to support you and help you in making sure your stakeholders are aware of the importance of this coming into place. Who are already your careers champions in schools? Have you got particular teachers, curriculum teachers who are already absolutely delivering fantastic stuff for their students in terms of engaging with them employers? Can you get a working group together through the school to look at how you might be doing this? And then also I mentioned on our things coming up list, the hub readiness survey is something that we'll be doing as well. So that is something that the Careers and Enterprise Company have asked every hub to do. We will be reaching out to each of you to do a quick 15-20 minute survey to understand what you're already doing around work experience and potentially what some of the challenges are. That will then be fed into a national report to understand what's needed, and it will also be shared with us locally so we can understand, as for our area, what are the real needs and what's currently going on, what's working well, etc., and things like that. So that'll be something that we will reach out to you over the next sort of month or so to be able to do those surveys. We have to do them with you rather than you just doing them yourself online. So, but as I said, it will only take 15-20 minutes and it will give us some really rich data in terms of what to do. The other thing, as well as, remember, we've got time for this. The other thing is this will not come without funding. I don't know none of us know what that will look like at the moment, whether that will be funding that comes into hubs to enable us to support you better, to get more employer engagement, to get more of those visits organised for you, whether that will go directly into schools to help you in terms of actually having the resource to create this. At the moment, we do not know what that looks like. But if this change comes into place, the one thing we have been told is there will be funding to support it. And when I say if this change comes into place, as I said before, we believe from a government perspective, absolutely it will do, but very much they're being told you can't make a change like this unless schools and colleges have got the resources to make this happen. So just be aware of that. Okay, that's it from experience of the workplace. Are there any questions on that at all? I thought this one might flag up a few questions.
None in the chat.
None in the chat. Does anyone have anything? As I said, you don't need to today, but if you please do reach out to your enterprise coordinator or to myself if you've got any queries or concerns. I'm sure as time goes on, we may be doing some focus groups. We will ensure that you are engaged every step of the way in terms of how we look at doing this within our county as much as we can. We don't know at the moment how much will be set in terms of this is what needs to happen, but as much as we can, we'll keep you involved, we'll keep talking to you. We've got plenty of time, but I think the more that we can do now, all of us, to think about what we want things to look like in the future, I think will be more helpful going forward. Final bit for me, and this is very quick because I just wanted to flag to make sure people have seen it. I sent out a paper to head teachers and yourselves around differentiating careers provision for disadvantaged students. The reason I did this was on the back of a meeting that I had with head teachers back in June, where they wanted to know what careers activities can we introduce to support our disadvantaged young students. Oh gosh, and I've just seen my awful spelling mistake. Sorry, that's really embarrassing. Sorry, I apologise for the spelling mistake, but this was done so that head teachers asked us what activities can we put in place to support those students so they can go on, not become neat, and go on to sustained destinations. And we were like, there is no list of activities we can give you that are going to make a difference. You've got to look at actually what you're already doing, what your students need, and make your decision based on the needs of the students that you've got within your school, rather than us just giving you a list of these things work, because it will be different for everyone. And we also, the feedback from so this is feedback actually from FSQ on a national level, the Future Skills Questionnaire on a national level. We know that disadvantaged students receiving free school meals at the moment have a 1.5% points below other students when it comes to that career readiness. However, we know where schools are actually meeting 8 benchmarks. We know that as a whole, students are 3.5% points big enough. So we know the benchmarks work really well when it comes, and having strong benchmark results works really well when it comes to supporting young people with disadvantaged young people. We know also with those changes that I've already spoken about with regards to the benchmarks, that will only get better because there is that real focus on that inclusion piece, young people not missing out, etc. So that will look to be set to improve going forward as well. But I just wanted to highlight this one slide around this, which is what I pulled together and shared with head teachers, obviously along with some of the explanation around these things as well. But for all schools and colleges, I think if we really want to make sure that we are absolutely giving that support to those disadvantaged students in terms of what they need, we need to first of all understand as schools and colleges what our strengths are. So what are we doing really well, but also what do we need to do more of? So absolutely gaps benchmarks, a great evaluation for that, and also the careers impact system. So doing that internal leadership review and understanding where those small changes are that you could make to improve your provision so it actually meets the needs of all your young people. So absolutely, that's a key starter. I think before you start looking at what do I want to implement differently, that's a key starting place. Secondly, absolutely, it's the hearing the voice of those learners as well. So we will continue to push the Future Skills Questionnaire. As I've said before, I think it's the best tool that the Careers and Enterprise Company have created. It's so rich in terms of data, in terms of you being able to understand what your young people think about the current provision in place, what their aspirations are, where they want to go. As you said before, you can par that down into looking at specific cohorts of students or individual students and really understanding what their needs are. And this is, I think, when it comes to disadvantaged students, we're not looking at your whole year groups. We're looking at what do I need to do for a small group of young people within my school. I know that will differ school to school in terms of the size of that group, but what do I really need to put into place differently for those young people? So not what do I need to change for everyone, but what do I need to implement for these young people? And it might be as simple as, all I need to do is we run mock interviews. I just need to ensure that there's this small group of students get half an hour with me before those mock interviews on their own to really understand what they're going to get from this and why they should be doing it, rather than just going straight into that. So it's not necessarily about creating something brand new. it might be just making sure you're taking the time to work with those students in advance and afterwards to make sure that they understand what they can get from that and what they should have learned from that in that activity. Or it could be just, you know, doing something different, a smaller project with that group of students. But it's not about absolutely picking up your careers program and changing it. And I think having the feedback from the careers impact system and the future skills questionnaire will really support you in terms of understanding what those small tweaks are that you can do, so that you're not just feeling like this is a massive change that I need to do, but you're understanding what the nuances within that are. Continue to push, obviously, staff CPD. So there's lots of training out there from the Careers and Enterprise Company. There's career leader induction for those of you that are new to the role. There's education leader and governor training, the funded careers leader training. There's also top-up training, which we're going to get details out to you about as well for those of you who've done it previously. There's teacher encounters. So that's about bringing the whole school along with you on this as well, to really understand the need for that good careers, that solid careers program that includes all young people and make sure that none are missing out. And obviously then as well, we have the hub support we can give as well around parent engagement, working with alumni, apprenticeship ambassadors, Horizons program, Careers Fest. So work that I've sort of shared before in terms of how we can look at how you can engage your disadvantaged young people in that too. This is not obviously about doing this and others not getting that careers provision they need. So it's not doing it on the basis of others not getting it. It's just about enhancing what you're already doing to make sure it really does meet the needs of all of your learners. And that may mean just having to do a little bit extra with some of those learners to make sure they can get the best impact from it. In the document I sent out, there was a lot of explanation around all of these things and all of the programs and things that you can engage with. So please do take another look at that when you do get a moment. But my one ask of all of you to think about is doing that future skills questionnaire. You need to upgrade to Compass Plus, but just getting one of those out, it's very simple. We have had an offer from the Careers and Enterprise Company to literally go on a call with you one-to-one and support you in doing that. They've also got some great training around then how you use the data on the back of that to create some changes to your program, etc., and things like that. And again, they're very happy to do that with any of our schools in Oxfordshire on a one-to-one basis. So I will send out details around how you can get that individual support for that. But yeah, that would be the one piece. If you take away anything from this, it's future skills questionnaire. Internal leadership review, great as well. But let's get the voice of those learners to really make sure what you've got in place now is actually meeting the needs of everyone. So
Nikki, there's a question. Megan's got a question.
Yeah, hiya. Just about the future skills questionnaire, our Cheryl, who is our SEN careers advisor, is really keen to do this with our SEN students.
Yeah.
But obviously we can't have Compass Plus. Is there any way we can get this questionnaire?
Absolutely. I can get the Word copy out to you. That's absolutely fine.
Okay, fab.
Which you would then need to put obviously into like SurveyMonkey or something like that. But yes, we can get that out to you, no problem, Megan.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Do you want me to send you, just because there's specific surveys for SEND learners, different key stages and things like that? Do you want me to just send you all of them? So, well, not obviously the lower key stage 3 and 4, but do you want me to send you the key stage 5 one as well?
Yes, please. Yeah, that would be useful because obviously we can use it with some of our other students as well. That would be great.
Perfect. Yes, I'll do that. Thank you. No problem.
Lovely. Thank you.
Anything else at all? That's me finished. I'm going to pass over to Mel quickly, who's going to talk about something very exciting that we want you to all get involved in as well. And apologies, it's just been a bit of a whistle-stop tour. I was really keen to get all this information out to you today. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and bombarded. Everything we've shared, we've got plenty of time to do all of this. This is small incremental changes. This is not, none of it is changing overnight. But it's just to give you that awareness so that when you're reviewing and looking at your careers programs, you feel ready for those changes, and you've kind of prepared the ground for those changes that are going to be coming about. So Mel, are you there?
I am, yes. Hello,
Can I
good
have
morning,
it from you
everybody.
for the exciting bit, please?
Building it up now, Nikki. Thank you, Nikki. And good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Mel. I work within the skills team and I support the team with communications and events, including the Picks of the Week newsletter that hopefully you all receive each week. One of the things that I lead on is the Oxfordshire Apprenticeship Awards, which has been going now, this is its 9th year. It's expanded over the years to, although it's the Apprenticeship Awards, we want to encompass everyone who plays a part in the journey of an apprentice. From the very start, when they first get that inspiration, to the employers and the training providers that help them to complete successfully. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about that in the next sort of 5 minutes or so. So if I could please have the next slide, please, Nikki. Thank you very much. So the Apprenticeship Awards are open for nominations and entries at the moment, and it will finish in a celebration evening on the 22nd of May, which we're having this year at Blenheim Palace. They very kindly donated the use of the Long Library and the Great Hall for our celebration event, which will be very exciting. And our guests will get the opportunity to have a tour of the staterooms. So we work very closely with Blenheim. Also, they support a lot of our programmes through the Careers Hub and our wider work. So it's brilliant that we're partnering up with them this year to hold the event there. So it will take place. Last time it happened there in 2018, it did actually snow. Hopefully now, because it's in May, it won't. So fingers crossed it will all go smoothly. Next slide, please, Nikki. As well as us leading and coordinating the awards, we have the support of not just Blenheim, but lots of other organisations and businesses. The event is fully funded through sponsorship, and our headline sponsor this year is the Hill Group. So it's brilliant to have the support of so many organisations that make this happen. So that's just to give you a quick idea of who those are. Next one, please, Nikki. So there's a lot of different categories as part of the awards. Obviously, because it's the Apprenticeship Awards, there are quite a few for apprentices, and they encompass everything for the different levels. We have one for a special recognition award for apprentices that have overcome challenges to work or learning, Rising Stars for new apprentices, Shining Stars former apprentices. We've also got categories for employers as well, and for the school, college and training providers, which I'm going to just spend a couple of minutes telling you about this morning while I've got all your attention. So if I could please have the next slide. Firstly, the Skills Champion Award. This has been around for a few years, but we've developed it slightly. Last year we had a Careers Champion Award. This year we've expanded it to be a Skills Champion Award. The idea for this award is to recognise individuals who contribute to promoting apprenticeships and other vocational routes to young people at the very start of their journey. So you guys, amazing unsung heroes in schools and colleges, promoting careers and encouraging young people to consider all of their options. But also we can now include people that you work with as business volunteers. So that might be your enterprise advisor or other people that do great work to support and inspire your students. So what we'd like to encourage you to do is put yourself forward. Maybe nominate a colleague who's a bit shy and who doesn't want to sort of nominate themselves, or your enterprise advisor or a business volunteer you work with. It's really important that we showcase the importance of the work that you guys do in schools and colleges to get young people on their journeys. And it's a brilliant way to share good practice, shine the light on someone who deserves recognition for everything they do. So we'd like to encourage you to consider entering or nominating somebody for this Skills Champion Award, which is sponsored this year by the Engineering Trust. Next slide, please. Next, we have the Inspiring the Future Employer Award. Along similar lines, this is the same kind of type of award, but it's to recognise employers who support you with your careers programmes and do a lot with your students to help them engage with local opportunities. So if you work with a brilliant employer who has done lots of different things with you, we'd encourage you again to let them know about this and encourage them to enter. It's a brilliant way for them to set an example to other employers. I encourage more employers to get involved with this important work and highlighting the importance of engaging with young people to inspire their future. This one is sponsored by Oxford Health. And next slide, please, Nikki. And then finally, the Apprenticeship Ambassador Award. This is similar to the Skills Champion Award, but it's for apprentices or former apprentices who do the same kind of thing. So you might have former students that come in and speak to your students. It could be an apprentice that comes in regularly to speak with your students as part of our scheme, although they don't have to be. And it's again, a brilliant way to encourage other apprentices to come forward and share their stories with students. We know how powerful apprentices' stories are when they come and speak to your students. So this is to recognise people who do that kind of scary thing, maybe coming back to their former school, standing up in front of students they may know, just to encourage them, and it's brilliant for them to do that. So this one is really for current or former apprentices, so they need to have completed within the last 10 years, so they may have moved on to other apprenticeships or other jobs. But those are the three categories that I wanted to just highlight for you today, because they're the ones that may be of interest. In terms of how to enter, individuals could be nominated or enter, so you could nominate a colleague or an individual you work with. Employers have to put themselves forward, but you could complete the supporting statement for them, so that could be that you say how great they have been as an employer to support you. All the information you need is on our website, which obviously you'll get as part of the slide, so you can download the forms. There's a few questions to complete, and we require a supporting statement just to show that, to give evidence towards that nomination. And then the closing date is the 24th of February, midnight on that night. So you've got the Monday, and then the closing date is that evening, which is about a week after National Apprenticeship Week, to give people the opportunity to put themselves forward just after National Apprenticeship Week, when we'll be doing a final push on entries. And I think that's, oh yeah, the only other thing to mention is I'm sure lots of you already are following us on LinkedIn, particularly the Careers Hub. If you're not, please do. I share lots of posts on Oxfordshire apprenticeships and Oxford Skills social media. On tomorrow, the 16th of January, I'm going to be focusing on the Skills Champion Award. So if you are on LinkedIn, it'd be nice and easy for you to just like a post, maybe tag someone in you think would be deserving of entering or nominating. They'll be coming out from 1 o'clock tomorrow. So a quick and easy way to do that is to share that with your community, and just spread the word that these opportunities exist for those people that they would benefit to enter and showcase what they do. If you have any questions or need to ask anything, please give me a shout. And I can advise you or help you with anything. But please do enter. It's a brilliant opportunity to showcase the great work you do, and hopefully join us at Blem. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me along this morning to tell you about that. Thanks, Nikki.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mel. That was great, really helpful. And yeah, we hope to see many of you apply. Stuart, I can see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, morning. Thank you for that, Mel. The Employer Award, does it matter if they don't offer apprenticeships?
No, it doesn't for this one, Stuart. So there are apprenticeship employer awards for apprenticeship employers, but for the Inspiring the Future one that I showed you this morning, that's more about the work they do with you as through school and college engagement. So they don't have to be an apprenticeship employer to enter that. They just need to be inspiring the future, generation in some way. So yeah, good question. Thank you. Hopefully that helped.
Yep, thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Anything else at all? We're just over time. No? Okay, well, I think we can let you all go. Just a reminder, the two things I want to remind you about again is the apprenticeship webinars that are coming up, both for teachers and parents, and also obviously the Twilight session at Careers Fest for parents as well. We really appreciate your support in helping to market those out to those groups.